Hello, today I will be breaking down Star Trek Picard Season 3 Episode 5, so if you haven't already seen the episode, please I advise you to go watch it and then come back watch the entire breakdown, and as well as like, share and subscribe please. And thank you, and you have been warned, so if you don't want to be spoiled, please take some good advice and give Picard more views, okay? So we start the episode out with what we think is the bridge of the Titan and the crew recovering from the battle with the strike, and Jack comes in a Starfleet uniform and just starts killing the bridge crew and comes to Esma and kills her, and then Jack wakes up from the nightmare of his that he's been having for the past couple of episodes. This does foreshadow what he will do later in the episode, and it seems that this may be a sixth sense for Jack, letting him know that there's danger near by, and the danger would be the changeling problem in Starfleet, which is why he is have dreams/nightmares about killing Starfleet, because he can sense the danger that Starfleet is in. So now we cut to the real Titan bridge and Riker doing a captain's log, and then we cut to the briefing room and Riker giving command of the Titan back to Shaw, and Shaw had already contacted Starfleet and that a ship was on its way, and Picard said that it was time to face the music, and Shaw tells Seven would she like to face the music being reinstated, and she says yes, and Shaw does a funny "you are knighted" moment with Seven, and it's also funny because Sir Patrick Stewart was knighted and he is British, so it was a moment that was kind of echoing Sir Patrick's past. I don't know if this was intentional, but it is still a funny moment, and Shaw goes out of the room so that the three of them can talk, and Picard says that he will take the blame. We then see Picard get in a turbo lift and come meet up with the Crushers and tell them that Starfleet is on their way. Beverly says that she wants to do an autopsy on the changeling, and Picard gives her permission to do so, and Jack and Picard talk how their future will be and that he may consider joining Starfleet, but Jack says that he's not going to, and Jean Luke gets in a turbo lift and goes away, and Esma walks by, and Jack gets creeped out because of the nightmare he had at the beginning of the episode. We then cut to a training scene between Raffi and Worf, with Worf needing to put in little effort, and Raffi keeps on trying, and the scene makes sense because Raffi is irrational and needs to be trained to fight without just using her anger on someone, and when Raffi is knocked down, Worf goes into a meditated stance and Raffi holds back from attacking him as they are contacted by Worf's handler, who learn the identity of his handler at the end of the episode, but his handler denies them access to Daystrom Station, and Raffi asks why with little to no response. With being told to not go to Daystrom Station, Raffi says that they'll break into Daystrom Station, and Worf tells her that they won't, and he throws a dagger at her feet because she said that he has no idea what she has sacrificed. Raffi picks up the dagger and tells him to stop tearing up her floor, and Worf points out that Daystrom Station is protected by AI and that it is extremely difficult to get past the AI without permission from Starfleet Command, so Worf tells her that they are going to take on a criminal named Kryn, and we cut to District 6/7. They keep referring to as District 6 and 7, and we see people screaming at the sight of the Vulcan crime gangsters, which is kind of weird, and Worf and hologram Raffi come in while the real Raffi is in a sniper position, and I think that holo Raffi thinks that she's the real Raffi, not like the Doctor from Voyager who knew that he wasn't real, and it appears that Raffi and Worf are now feared in District 6/7. We then cut to the Titan and the USS Intrepid warping in, and they contact the Titan and say that they will send the security team over by shuttle. Shaw seems to be confused why they wouldn't use the transporters, and Esma says that the security officer is insisting on using a shuttle, and Picard asks Seven if she could do him another favor, and we then cut to Shaw, Picard and Riker in a turbo lift, and Shaw is just a kid in the candy store where Picard and Riker are telling him that the Tribunal is probably going to remember the times that they saved the galaxy, and Shaw tells them maybe they will remember the time that Riker crashed the saucer section of the Enterprise D, or the time Picard threw the Prime Directive out the window. and went down to save the Baku, or the time that Picard and Riker caused an alternate timeline with an anomaly and almost wiped all life from existence in the universe. And the officer is Commander Ro Laren, and there is a very big Easter egg, that is that when Ro was promoted to lieutenant she was trained by Chakotay, the same Chakotay that served aboard the Voyager, and he served on a Intrepid class ship as its first officer, and now Commander Ro serves as the first officer of the USS Intrepid, so this is a pretty big Easter egg, and I wonder if the show creators even knew this when making this episode. But back to the story, Ro says anything that Picard and Riker say could be used against them if charges should be filed against them, and they ask why, and she says treason, and these give very Palpatine vibes, which indicates that she might be a changeling. We then see Jack in the corridor when Seven comes up and takes him to some quarters and gives him a Starfleet uniform to put on. He says he won't put it on but eventually agrees to do so, and then we have an autopsy scene where Dr. Crusher is examining the changeling, and apparently the changelings have evolved to where you kill them and they remain in the form that they died in, and they replicate the internal organs of the person which they take form, and that they can now pass blood test. Meaning you don't know who and who isn't a changeling. And we cut to the briefing room, and Picard is upset that Ro is even in Starfleet, and Riker tries to calm him down when Commander Ro comes in, and she has her guards escort Riker out so she can talk to Picard alone, and Picard confronts her saying, "How does a traitor have a Starfleet commission?" And she responds thinking he means that she's a changeling, and Jack goes walking about and goes into the transporter room and thinks about killing the Starfleet officers and just walks away. We then cut to Raffi Worf and the Vulcan crime lord, and he uncovers that a mobile emitter is being used and gets the real Raffi, and we cut back to the Titan, and once Crusher finds out that the changelings can pass a blood test she warns Jean Luke, and he tries to convince Ro that they know nothing about the changelings and that they just killed it. She wants to see it, so they are going to sick bay when Ro pulls a phaser on Jean-Luc and tells him to go into the holo deck. Picard disabled the safety protocols and pulled a phaser on Ro, saying that she had a big ego and that ego is the reason that she wore her earring, and they eventually trust each other, realizing that neither of them are changelings, and Ro tells him that for the past 4 months that there have been changelings on 20 ships and Starfleet has been keeping it quiet. We then cut to Worf and Raffle having to fight each other, and they are just fake fighting with Worf pretending to be dead. We cut back to Ro and Picard. Picard name drops Admiral Janeway Ro, saying the changelings have infiltrated the highest levels of Starfleet and that she's afraid that having the entire fleet in one place on Frontier Day puts them at risk. We then cut back to Raffi and Worf where the Vulcan crime boss tells her that she now works for him, and he threatens her with the life of her granddaughter, and Worf attacks his guards and takes them out and gets him to give them the device he got to break into Daystrom. Ro tells Picard that she transported most of the Titan's crew to the Intrepid and left a skeleton crew behind, and says that he must make sure that they can be trusted. They part ways and she gives him her earring and goes to the Intrepid to buy them time. Picard goes to the bridge and with some convincing get them to run, but not before the changelings plant a bomb on the shuttle, and Ro rams it into the Intrepid, and the Intrepid prepare to fire at the Titan, ordering them to stand down, and they run, and Ro used her earring as a way to give Picard all of her intelligence on the changelings, and Worf contacts them, and Ro is Worf's handler, and the episode ends with Jack and Beverly talking how Jack needs help.